and B, that you don't get nervous. It's like, now we're going to start recording. So I've gone ahead. A couple of housekeeping notes. The first is that you can take all the time you want, and you can think, you can pause. A lot of people, when they're in front of a recording, feel really awkward about a long pause, but as our editor will tell me, I need those pauses to be able to cut and paste. So we might have a 15-minute-ish dialogue, and we'll trim that down to 3 to 5 minutes, depending on what we get and what you want to say. This recording is for you. There's nothing in particular we want you to say. This is a chance for you to tell your story about old forests, mature forests, what they mean, what they should mean to society and to you. And um, if at any time you're speaking and you think, oh, I muffed that question, or I really want to start again, just say, I'm starting again. And then we'll take that from the top. So we do have an editor who will edit out all the blips. Our goal is to make you look as articulate and fabulous as you want to look.
Good luck.
Zach, any other comments that you want to add?
I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah, nothing to add, unless Rich, you have questions for us.
Zach, are you or Jamie going to be actually reading those framing questions to me so that I have a prompt?
We
absolutely can.
Yes.
Yeah, we can. And then what I'd ask is that after Zach finishes asking a question, count to 3 quietly in your mind, and that will give us the space, because it's tempting to just jump right in as you would in a conversation. Be sure you just give that space and allow that your chance to breathe.
Yeah.
And I'd also request, so it doesn't come across as you're responding, it's more like you're responding in the frame of almost like a soliloquy with yourself here. It's just, it shouldn't be too much like, oh, thanks for that question, Zach. It's more like you're just sharing your thoughts about, I'm here, I'm so-and-so, this is what I'm doing, I'm Rich Holschuh, and this is what this is what I'm about. And then answering the questions in a way that's more narrative and dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Monologue.
Okay. I think I've got that.
Okay. You're good at this. You are so articulate. So, don't stress. And like we said, we'll be editing it down, quite a bit.
Okay.
So, and if you have questions in the middle, we can pause, we can, regroup, whatever. So.
Okay. And I think
that's hard to keep uppermost in mind, but yes.
And I think to get started, if you can sort of say, my name is, and this is who I am, and that will set the frame. And I'm here today to talk about old forests and what they mean, X, Y, and Z, and then you can launch. So, Zach, what's the easiest way? You could just drop the questions in the chat as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that right now. And then you can and you can kind of take them one at a time, Rich, at your own pace. If I put them in the chat, does that seem helpful?
I think I'd rather have you ask me. Otherwise, I'm clicking back and forth.
Okay. I'll put them there. I'll put them there anyways, but I'm happy to ask them.
Okay.
Last piece of advice, you seem like a natural at this, is be sure you're looking exactly where you are looking, which is at the camera, so that you're talking to an audience that that is listening to you. It's an illusion. So your eye placement is perfect. If you can keep that up, that's wonderful. I'm going to go off video and I'm going to go on mute, but anytime you want clarification, just say the word and I'll come back. Zach will also go off camera and unmute.
Okay.
We'll try it like this, Rich. If I mean, since it's just you, maybe Jamie, if it's helpful for him, maybe we could do it with just one other person on screen, or
as you like, but that person will be edited out. So
right.
What I'd like to avoid is a situation where it feels like there's a ghost in the room. Like you're responding to someone who's not there and people are like, well, who just asked that question? I don't know, that's weird. So yeah, it's up to you, Zach, how you'd like to handle it. And Rich.
I'm not sure what would be more natural. We can try it without anyone else on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give it a try and then we can switch it up.
I can hear your voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. Okay. And we can always switch it back on again if it's just too awkward. So And actually, I'm going to move because I don't want to get interrupted where I am.
Okay.
Um, so, Rich, the first question here is, uh, in your mind, from your perspective, how are the past, present, and the future of indigenous cultures and native ecosystems in what we now call the Northeast US intertwined? And that's a big question. But and so approach it however you'd like. But and I can repeat it if that's helpful.
And if you could start with an introduction to yourself, that's going to be perfect. So we'll count to
For
three
sure.
and then over to you.
For sure. Hi, my name's Rich Holschuh. I am founder of Start Again.
That's fine. Absolutely fine.
Okay. I want to start in the Benaki language.
Please do.
Then I'll go to English. Kwayam ziwi awani indelawizi le sal indai wantastagak tali sukwakik pa kunonguzian. We go down namiolan gisagak nia elno wombanaki. Hello, everyone. My name is Rich Holschuh, and I am the founder of the Atui Project. I am of Wantastagak, today's Brattleboro, Vermont, and it's good to see you. In an Benaki sense of being in the world, as I have been taught, there is no time. So when we talk about past, present, and future, they're all the same, and they're all here right now. What we see around us, whether it's in town or out in the forest, is a product of what has happened in the past and of the decisions that were made at the time. And those decisions were made by everyone that was participating, whether they are human or other than human. This is the future as well. It depends upon what we decide to do and what we do with what we have inherited. So when I go into the forest, it's all there. And what we decide to do with ourselves, with everyone that's around us, with that forest, will create the future. And so it's all connected and it all matters. Going to stop right there for the moment.
Absolutely perfect.
And Rich, how are you doing with us off screen? Do you want me to just put my face up? Would that be helpful to have somebody to talk to?
Do I look like I'm casting about?
No, you don't. You look fabulous.
Okay.
Zach, I think it's, go ahead.
I'll turn the screen back up.
I think it's better without actually. I think it might be distracting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my eyes are going to shift down to you if you're there.
Okay.
I'll keep them a little bit higher.
Wonderful.
Sure. Let me just take a look at the question here.
Yeah, you can add to that first question, or we can move on, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that a little bit. Indigenous cultures are, start again. The Abenaki people, whatever area they're from, whatever region, wherever their rivers are, wherever their lands are, their culture and their language are informed by everyone who is present there. They are the same thing. The land is the people and the people are the land. It is very, very important that each of these places be seen for itself, for what it is, and the people that accompany it, that are of it, be there to witness it, continue to witness it, to inform it, and to interact with it. They are not transferable. If all of the forests in what is now the state of Vermont, where I reside, were to be gone, the underpinnings, the relationships that create the people of this place, and the language that they use to exchange information between each other would be undermined, would be it'd become a vacuum. So these things need to be here, continuing in relationship, in order to matter, in order to have validity, in order to function in a healthy and vital manner. I'm going to stop right there.
That's great. So, Rich, when you do stop, please be sure that you pause and say, the pause. We can probably edit out that, I know,
Yeah.
I know.
That was a little abrupt.
A little abrupt. So just be sure that you have a top and a tail of a pause.
Mm-hmm. I think that's enough on the first question for now.
Okay, so the second question here is, what's your perspective on the importance of public lands in particular in overcoming the climate and extinction crises and for recovering old growth forests? How would you personally or you with your Atui project, hat on, answer that question? So. Sorry, I'm not doing a great job of asking these, but they're big questions, but I'll turn it over to you.
For sure. Hmm. In indigenous land relationships, there is no concept of ownership. There is relationship. In today's world, everything is parceled out into boxes with owners, with rights accompanying them. And it's all about the piece of paper. Common lands, start again.
No problem.
In indigenous land relationships, there's no concept of ownership. If anything, the land owns the people. In today's world, that's not the case. Everything is parceled out into individual properties, their respective owners, the rights that accompany it. And common land is best realized in the shape of what we call public land nowadays. It's held by everyone, ostensibly for the good of everyone. And when I say everyone in my world, that includes other than humans, not just the humans. It belongs to everyone. And it belongs to them. It's that back and forth reciprocal relationship. Public lands fill that role in today's world. If there's going to be any kind of a baseline, of a reference point, of a resting state for us to refer to so that we can figure out what we're going to do in the future, how we're going to grapple with what we have inherited and what we're going to leave to all those who will follow, we need this baseline. We need this original condition to the degree that we still have it. I think that is best found in public lands, in old growth forests, in mature forests. We have that myriad of relationships in place, still functioning as best as it can. And we need that as a reference point in order to move forward. Public lands are where that resides, nowhere else. And that's where we have to start.
Great. Thanks. Anything else that you want to add to that one, or should we move to the next question?
Move to the next one.
Okay. So how might changing the paradigm of public land management to recover old growth ecosystems also help to reintegrate indigenous peoples and communities with their place-based cultures?
Okay. Because indigeneity, by definition, is place-based, the people of a place, they're the same thing. We need to maintain all of these places in order for the people to be in relationship with it. Start again. Because indigeneity is based on place-based relationships, the people are the land and the land is the people. They are unique to each situation. We need to maintain those two entities to stay in balance in order to continue forward. I believe that traditional teachings and values embody sustainability in a nutshell. If folks have been present in a place for where we are, upwards of 12,000 years, that speaks to sustainability, and the values that created that are where we can find answers as we move forward.
That's great. Do you want to take another moment with that and just think about
Yeah.
anything else you want to add?
I'd like to add a little bit more to that. I just lost my train of thought for a second. Given that indigenous people have basically been separated from the places where they arose, where their cultures arose, where their languages come from, in order for that relationship to be restored and for those values to be recovered and those understandings to become real, we need to have these places and allow relationships to flourish in them between those people and those places. Most folks have been separated. We need to create that space. We need to open that up and find a way for us all to work together, and not just the indigenous people. These are the people who hold the values, who hold the understandings. They need to be centered. They need to be consulted. They need to be included. And then we can all learn from these lessons and find a way forward, because we're all here now. That's the reality that faces us. Done.
Great.
And we're doing fine on time. If you want to keep going with that one or go back to another one, or we can move to the next one.
I'm okay with that right now, Zach.
Okay. So next question is, why was the passage, which I know that you obviously testified about the Community Resilience and Biodiversity Protection Act. Why was the passage of Vermont's 30 by 30 and 50 by 50 legislation important to you and to the Attaway Project? And what is the opportunity that you see for similar efforts to be undertaken elsewhere? How can what happened here? Obviously, we're still in the very beginning phases of seeing this legislation rolled out. So there's a lot of unknowns, but how might it be a model, perhaps for other places in your mind?
Yeah. Being a part of a place-based culture, my first priority is this place, the place where I am. I am responsible to this place. This place is now called Vermont. And we work through the governmental systems and structures that are in place. The passage in Vermont of the 30 by 30 and then the 50 by 50 initiatives speak to accepting that responsibility, to taking that on. I'm glad to be in a place where we are beginning to grapple with what that might look like. I would hope that that would set an example for everyone else to follow in their respective places. We can only act in the places where we are, and that's our first responsibility. This is a basic understanding in indigenous cultures. I stop there. Yeah, I think that's that.
Okay, no, that's great. Is there anything else that you would like to add? I mean, you've said some, you offered some wonderful quotes here right now, so you don't need to add anything, but I just want to pause for a second to give you a chance to embellish or take it in a different direction. If there's a tangent that you'd like to go off on, feel free. Just want to make sure that you've had a chance to say what is meaningful to you on this topic.
For sure. Yeah. The way that I look at things, everything that has ever happened here is still present. It has left its mark. Those stories are still alive in the air. We work with those stories. We work with that breath that's floating through the air. We work with the water that has come and gone and returned and gone somewhere else. All of these connections are creating where we are right now and how we are in this place. Lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
In addition to the stories that were shared here a long, long time ago and right up till now, there are other stories current. There are other participants here now. We're all here now. We need to learn from each other. We need to learn these stories. We need to create new stories because the ones that we have right now are not working very well. And this, I lost my train of thought again.
You're doing great. You have so much wisdom to share, and I know it's so awkward doing this in front of a screen, because I've been in person when you are so on it that the room is just mesmerized. So take your time and
It's a little awkward.
feel free to start over again if you want.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I've kind of got a blank mind right now. I kind of ran into a wall. I'm sorry.
Well, we
Sorry.
can just wrap it up here. I mean, Jamie, do you think are we good to go from here?
We are absolutely good to go. I think
Okay.
we've got loads of great content. The process that we have about 350 video assets altogether that we curate. This is one that I'm helping Zach especially on. And generally, people produce their own assets. We do have we have a large feature on Indigenous peoples and local communities within the hub, and also in the work that I do. The process for going forward will be that I turn this video into a YouTube, and then I upload the YouTube, and it automatically creates. Zach, I don't know if you saw the file from the previous ones, but automatically creates timed subtitles. And then Zach and I will go through this. We'll make an edit and say we think this is how we could edit it down. We then have a video editor who will crop and paste. And we will give you the chance to take a look at what we've done and say, I absolutely don't want to have this, or I'd rather crop that. So there's a chance to look at that before we paste it together. So we've got, I think, 8 or 9 different voices altogether. Zach will be the MC, so we'll videotape him next week. And then we'll string this together into an asset with a nice top and tail that is different voices on northern forests and the importance of old and mature forests.
Do you feel like you got enough from me? I feel like I came
Huge.
up.
No, absolutely huge. You were really articulate. You bring a different voice. You bring a different mindset, a different perspective. It's really going to be complementary to the voices that we've had about, very regimented thoughts about what we need to do. It's wonderful to hear your perspective.
Well,
And
thank you. I'm going to choose to believe you. This is what I prefer to do, to talk about things like this. And it brings a lot of joy, and it usually flows easily. I am in a lot of a stressful position today. There's just too much going on, so I'm kind of tongue-tied. I apologize.
No, no, you have to
Apologize.
realize that we do this for everybody. We've even had heads of state that we've done this for. We've had 65 heads of state in the hub before. We've had indigenous leaders from all over the world. Nobody is comfortable. There's not a single person who can just like naturally express themselves in video without some feeling. You were a star. You're in the top 5% really of what I've seen. And I think your centeredness, your ability to be comfortable in silence for a moment, gather your thoughts, and then speak them clearly is just really unusual.
Well, thank you. You're both very kind. I just, yeah, my head's kind of crammed right now, but this is what I prefer to talk about and uncram my head.
Great, good.
Well, if there's something that, I mean, you absolutely wish, an hour from now that you had said, there might be, we can try to maybe, add to this, but I think you did great, Rich. And so don't stress about it. And yeah, we'll make sure that it looks good to you before we move forward.
Okay, well, if you're happy, I'm happy.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All
Yeah.
right.